My name is Tessa Wojtek. This is my first year in the grad program. I did my undergraduate degree at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I actually started out in animal sciences because I have an intense love for these things. My cat Maisie, we can get to her later. So that's the degree I started in. Turns out because you really love cats, doesn't really make it a good career option. So, within a year, I kind of realized that I've always really enjoyed talking about health and fitness, especially nutrition, and learning about foods. And my freshman year, I spent a lot of time focusing on my own personal health, and that led to me researching about food all the time and different. At the time, I was researching different fad diets and stuff, and I kind of learned more about why those aren't great. But so that's kind of what jump started me into realizing that I really enjoyed that and I wanted to do it for a career. And it was definitely one of the best things to ever happen to me because I really, really, truly love uh, the world of dietetics. So, a little bit about what I want to do um, once I become a registered dietitian. I would like to work in like an outpatient setting, one on one with patients, and kind of help them realize their health goals. So I mainly want to work with adults. I might want to work with kids. I'm not sure yet. I do like kids a lot, but sometimes that can be a very, very difficult thing to do to work with them. But I do mainly want to work with people who are overweight or obese, who have type 2 diabetes, and I want to work with them on, eating healthier, living a healthier lifestyle, and just how to work on that and maintain that. I've always had a big interest in that, so that's where I want to focus. And also maybe community goals as well, working on programs that will overall benefit the community so that, you know, it's a lot easier for people to be healthier and maintain their weight in general. So that's kind of like what I want to do. Um, and things about me other than dietetics, I already showed you my cat. I can pick her up again. She's right here. This is Maisie. This is my absolute best friend. She was found in Kentucky, and she came up on a big bus full of other cats and dogs, and she landed in our bathroom because we foster cats. And the second I saw her, it was definitely game over. I love her. She was born with no eyes, so she is blind. She's very, very sweet, very feisty, and she gets around just fine. Having no eyes does not stop her from living her absolute best life. She's got a billion toys. She can get places. She knows where things are. She has a whole little map created in her head, I think. Um, but so she's very sweet, and I spend a majority of my time with her when I can. It's really hard for me to be away from her because we love each other very much. Other than that, I like some video games. My brother and I, about once a week, we play Overwatch together online. I also really like Borderlands, but then I kind of like a flip side. Animal Crossing is probably my all time favorite video game, and I've been playing it since I was a little girl. I also like playing things like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, so kind of a whole wide range of things from very calming to a little bit more wild. On top of that, I am a huge bookworm. I have kind of two speeds. Either all I want to do is read and nothing else, or I will not pick up a book for like a week and a half. But I have a ton of books. I love Barnes and Nobles. It is my happy place. And I love to read a lot. So I usually have one with me. And either you'll talk to me and I'll just finished a whole series and read 5 books in like a week, or I've been working on the same series for 2 months. So, but those are just kind of a few things about me that I think are kind of the most important things I talk about the most generally. Also, I'm originally from Oswego, Illinois, if anyone knows where that is, but I currently live in Champaign, where I've lived for the last 4 years, so I know the area pretty well. Uh, yeah, so my thoughts about leadership, what it takes to be a good leader. I think that is kind of a big question because I think leaders can have some qualities and it works really well for them, and other leaders will have different qualities that work really well for them. But just in my personal experience, what I respond to really well is someone who is very stern and has a clear line. Like, I either like, so for example, manager versus employees. There's that clear line drawn that, like, I'm your manager, there are boundaries, but still can treat you like a friend. But at the same time, it's not to the point where it feels like hard for you to respect them as a leader. So I think that's important. Having that defined relationship is maybe one of the most important things. Just for example, the restaurant I work at, our managers are kind of friends with us, and like they're in a Snapchat group with us, and like they like to go out to drinks with us sometimes. And I love my managers, and I think they're super fun. But I think it makes it difficult for them because when one of us isn't doing things correctly, I think it's harder for them to come down on us and be like, hey, like this, you got to do it differently. So I think having that clear relationship is important. I think another thing is just confidence. Sometimes you might not always know exactly what to do in certain situations, but having a lot of confidence, not being afraid to step up and put out ideas and try things, I think that's very, very important. So I respond really well to someone who is very confident with what they're doing. Other than confidence, I think having an organized mindset, so that they're not all over the place is also really well. They can delegate tasks, they can decide what needs to get done, and like what else they have to do, and can like really time manage. So I guess time management and also having that clean, organized mindset, I think is very important because there's a lot of things you have to do when you're in charge, and it can be very overwhelming. So someone who's cool, calm, collected, that's what I, would gravitate towards too. And then I think another thing is just in terms of like maybe we are talking about leading a team of dietitians, being really knowledgeable at your topic is important. So if it's, say it is a group based off of eating disorders, and you're trying to come up with like maybe not a community project, but you're trying to come up with something for the school to help with eating disorders, I would hope that dietitian who is in charge of everything has a lot of knowledge on that, and their specialty isn't in something else. So that's another thing. So being knowledgeable on your topic. And then I think the other thing, and this is just kind of hard, is, not having a quiet personality. I do think you have to be kind of a bold person sometimes, because otherwise people might feel like they can, walk all over you. That you're not really in charge of them. So that's a few other things. So I've been a leader in several different times in my life, and I'll give two examples. So I used to be an associate trainer at Panera Bread, and this was back in high school, and I had a tough time dealing with my anxiety in high school, and I would get really, really overwhelmed quickly. And I do think I was very knowledgeable at my job. I was really good at it. I always like prided myself because I like would get things done, and I do think I did a really great job of teaching people and helping them learn. But as associate trainer, you not only help them learn, you were kind of like in charge of dealing with the shifts for the night, because the managers would just kind of go off and do their own thing. So at night when I was delegating tasks, I would get really, really overwhelmed. And I wouldn't necessarily know what to do sometimes. I would just feel like nothing would get done and no one would listen to me. And I think that is where I failed, because I couldn't take a deep breath and just be like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. So I think that was a really hard thing for me to get past, because it maybe wasn't necessarily who I am, but it would be the anxiety taking over. So now in my job, I forgot to say this earlier in your introduction, but I work at a restaurant called Timpones in Urbana, Illinois, but I'm a server. And I've been there, we have a high turnover rate. So I've been there only since October of last year, but I'm almost one of the like oldest employees. So oftentimes, I'm delegating tasks for closing, I'm kind of leading things, I'm training new people, and I have a much more collected mind frame. So I think in terms of like my knowledge, my confidence and my abilities, I'm still up here, but my ability to overcome the anxiety and realize like things are going to get done, we just have to work on them. That has improved so much, and that has really improved my ability to be a leader. So now, people aren't seeing me get overwhelmed. They're not seeing me just feel really hectic and crazy. They're like, she knows what she's doing. I can follow her. I can take her advice, do what she needs me to do, and things work out really well. And I think that's a huge lesson I've had to learn is just, overcoming some shyness, overcoming some anxieties that I have. For me personally, when I'm in a large group of people, I draw back a lot. I saw that in my classes all the time. We'd have like 20, 30 kids in a class, and I would never raise my hand. I would just kind of be in the back. But cut that in half, maybe I'm only having 10, 12 kids in the class. I talk significantly more. I don't feel shy. I don't feel embarrassed. So I think that's also really important for me is maybe just for my personal leadership style, I work a bit better when there's less people. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think everyone has their strengths and weaknesses as leaders. And I think my strength comes from leading a smaller group of people. But so I think just the main takeaway from like my leadership experiences that I've had just in terms of work is really learning to control the anxieties, learning to take a deep breath and trust my natural abilities, because I think naturally I can be a strong person. I know what to get done. I have a good mindset for work. It's just sometimes it's hard for me to overcome. So that's what I've been working on. That's what I'll always continue to work on. And so now, do I feel more comfortable being a leader or a follower? And I think this is another kind of a complicated question because for me, it really depends on the situation. As I just said, I feel very comfortable in a smaller group of people, and I think I do well leading, and then add like 20 more people, and I get a little bit more nervous. So maybe in situations where it is smaller, I'm definitely a better leader, and in situations where it's a lot, I might be a better follower, at least for right now. But I think there's, important times to lead and important times to follow. So as I talked about earlier, it is really important that you know your topics, what you're supposed to be doing, what you're leading, and maybe in certain situations, if I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the group, if I'm not the best person for that job, I feel more comfortable taking a follower role because I can watch them, I can learn from the new leader, I can kind of like understand more and so take notes, get better. So then when it is my turn, if this situation comes again with this topic and I'm ready for it. So I think that's important. I don't feel like I am the best person, then I think it might be better to be a follower. But in situations where I know I am really good on the topic, I know my strengths in this, or if I'm just feeling very confident, then I do enjoy being a leadership role. For example, group work. I had a class, it was a restaurant management class that I had to take for my undergrad. And we were split up into groups. And that was basically the whole class. Single class was a case study. And so we were in our groups. And I was like, right away, I could tell everyone in the group was just very soft spoken. And for me, there was no question. I just, kind of took the leadership role. I was in charge of the group. It worked really well. I felt comfortable doing it. There was never, a discussion that was like, okay, you're going to do this. It was just kind of like I naturally fell into that role. And I think I do that a lot in my group assignments, in my classwork, in my jobs and stuff. I will naturally fall into that role. And I think when I don't is when I know I'm a little bit out of my realm. I'm a little bit more uncomfortable. So I think that's really important. And that is how I kind of decide if I'd rather be a follower or a leader. And I think hopefully as I continue to grow, as I continue to get over my anxieties, as I continue to feel better, more often I will keep taking the leadership role rather than the following role. But I do think it's important that sometimes I take a step back and I let someone else lead because you can just learn a lot more about yourself, about other people, about their styles of leadership. And I think overall that makes me better in the end too. So I think that's really important. Yeah, so just to sum it up, I am confident being both a follower and a leader. If I have to pick one that I like better, I probably would do like being the leader better because I do tend to like having control over things. Um, But for the most part, I feel comfortable being both, and I think both roles are equally important.